Hey, good morning. So it is about 4 a.m. on a Saturday, and I decided that, I woke up about 2 hours ago thinking about the video that I wanted to shoot today. So Cheryl and I are going to be going out to a golf course here in town called Boulder Ridge, and yeah, want to film some golf. But of course, the title of this channel is Golf Chat, and so today I just felt like, along with the golf, I was just going to chat with you. Um, and I don't know yet if I'm just going to splice in some audio or if I'm going to use a picture in picture and just have my face up chatting the whole time while I'm golfing. But there's just been some things that have been on my mind that I felt like I needed to share. And I will say, looking back on why I wanted to do a YouTube channel, it wasn't really for me. The goal was to bring on everyday superheroes, so people who just make the world a better place, but not a lot of people know about them other than their friends or family. I thought it'd be a great thing to bring everyday superheroes on to golf with them, chat a little bit, and let the world get an opportunity to know them. And by world, I mean, again, the 15 or 20 members of my family who are probably going to be watching these videos. But the second part of why I wanted to do a channel was just to share a little bit more about my own story. And that one's a little bit tougher to do because obviously, who knows if anybody wants to hear the stories that I have to share. But there's still stories that I think I want to get out there. And to me, so I grew up golfing. My dad lived on the second hole of a golf course, and he usually bought my brother and I summer passes so we could go out and golf whenever we wanted. And a lot of that time golfing was me alone, just going out on the course as a 10 or 11-year-old and just playing. And of course, with that, you get a lot of opportunity just to think, and so for me, golf has always been kind of a reflective sport. And so, playing golf, reflecting back on life, it just kind of seems like a normal thing to me. When I think about golf and life, there seem to be so many parallels. First off, golf is a very mental sport. A lot of times, how well you're going to do at it depends on what's going on between your own ears. You competing against yourself, you competing against the course, staying focused as you're over the ball, and then realizing there are just sometimes going to be things that are outside of your control. Whether that's you hit a shot and it happens to land in somebody else's divot from before that they didn't repair, it makes it a little bit tougher shot. Just overall conditions of the course, you don't really get an opportunity to change any of that. You just go out and play and you sort of take the course the way it is. Well, that's the same way with life. We may go into a particular day having thought through a plan of how we wanted it to go, and then the challenges come in. There is a term in golf called greens in regulation, or GIR, G-I-R. That means, so let's say it's a par 4 hole, and if you can make it onto the green on your second shot, so the second out of 4, then that is a green in regulation, and you have 2 putts to make your par. But for my video, I also want to talk about KIR, K-I-R, and that's just keeping it real. And so this video, or a series of videos that I plan to do, where I'm kind of just chatting, these are keeping it real videos. I just want to keep it real with you on things that have gone on in my life that weren't always easy, but we make it through. And I think it's important for everyone to know that even when you're having these challenges or struggles in your own life, there are more people who are rooting for you than there are people rooting against you. And sometimes the people rooting against you, again, it's the person between these 2 ears that's trying to make your life a little bit more difficult or make you feel like you're undeserving of good things. So today, I think the video is going to be, some about golf. It's going to be some about how do you deal with challenges that come up. I know many of the people that I know probably would look at my life and say, what does this guy have to complain about? He's had a pretty darn good life. And I agree, I have. Things have gone really very well in my life. but it doesn't mean it hasn't been without challenges, and especially again challenges between these 2 years. And I'll say it out there, or put it out there for anyone. Mental health is important to consider. And while I was growing up, as a boy, right, you didn't talk about your mental health. You were just expected to be tough, rub some dirt on it, move along. That makes it really tough, I think, as you get older, to deal with some of the issues that come up, because I can absolutely say there have been times when I've felt alone, or life has been challenging, and I felt like it was my role to just get through it and not get any help for it. So, um, yeah, I'm going to keep it real today and just share one story in my life. And this is a more recent one. Um, and I hope that it stands out as a way for everyone to look at the challenges that they have in their life and try and find the positive in it, the silver lining, if there is one. The story's going to be a little bit long, and I have to say again, speaking to a camera here, it feels weird. I know when I listen back to my videos, I do weird things with my mouth, and so it's really easy to be a judge, a difficult judge of your own self when you're doing something like this. And throughout our lives, that's going to be something we're going to worry about, is what do other people think? And so I'm doing my best right now to not worry about what other people think. And I just want to share a story. And the story's going to go back quite a few years. In fact, back to when I was a kid, and it all kind of ties in. As a kid, even though I was typically surrounded by friends and family, there were a lot of times that I just felt alone. I felt like I didn't maybe belong. And that's a tough thing to think about as a kid. Now, I never really tried to let it show, but over the years, that wears on a person. And I think I went through some pretty serious, at least in my own mind, some pretty serious depression periods as a kid. And I had some really good friends who I know recognized it and did things to try and make it better, but it wasn't something that we really talked about. It was also funny because growing up as a kid, I made the joke to my mom all the time that I must be adopted. I was the only one in the family with kind of blondish hair, blue eyes. I wore glasses. Nobody else in my family did. I just didn't feel like I was the same as everyone else in the family. And my mom was funny. Well, she would just say, "You're not adopted. Don't worry about that. You're not adopted." So I just kind of let that play. And in my very first video, I talked about how I served a mission for my church in Germany. And that was a pretty awesome experience. As a 19-year-old kid, getting sent to a foreign country, learning a language, and my responsibility was just every day to focus on other people. It was not to focus on myself. I questioned a lot. Why Germany? I had friends who were getting called to all different places in the world on their missions. And not that there always has to be a purpose for where a person is called to serve, but we trust that God knows the plan and that He's going to send His missionaries to where He needs them. So I just trusted in that, and I still believe that that's true. It was after my mission, obviously, that I started dating Cheryl, and we got married, and we've built a family and an awesome life together. And I thought that was the reason for my mission call to Germany. It was so that I could meet Cheryl and our family could become an eternal family. And again, that's enough. Like that is awesome. I'm very happy with that. And then some things happened later in life. So last year in November, Cheryl and I, just out of the blue, we decided, let's do a 23andMe test. Let's find out if there's any genetic disorders that we might have that our kids should know about, the concerns that they should have. That was the primary purpose for doing it. So we got the tests, we submitted them in, And so while we live here in St. Cloud, Minnesota, we also have a home down near Memphis, Tennessee. And this was just before Thanksgiving last year. We loaded up the car and we decided to drive down to Memphis, where our oldest son Ben and his wife and their 2 kids, they were going to be at the house there in Memphis to stay with us for a couple of days. We wanted to surprise them. So we jumped in the car about 6 o'clock at night. We were going to do the 13-hour drive through the night to make it down to Memphis and surprise them and our grandsons when they woke up that next morning. When I got in the car with Cheryl and we started driving, this is November, so it was already dark, I just looked at her and I said, you know what, I think we're going to hit a deer on the drive down. And she just looked at me like, what are you talking about? She's like, do we need to not go? Like, is this a prompting or an impression that you have that we should not be going down there? And I said, no, it's not a prompting or impression. It's just that we need to not go. I think it's going to happen. And so we got in the car, took off. The first 9 hours of the drive, great, no issues. So we're middle of the night, it's about 2 a.m, and we're driving through St. Louis, Missouri. And the part that we were at, it was a major freeway. There were 3 or 4 lanes going in each direction with a concrete divider. I was driving. We'd stopped about an hour before that and filled up and with gas and changed drivers. So I'm driving. And all of a sudden I just go, oh crap. And Cheryl looks up and sure enough, there was a deer just standing in our lane on a major freeway in St. Louis. So unfortunately we hit the deer, caused quite a bit of damage to the car, but I thought we could keep going. And I wanted to keep going because I didn't want to be stranded on the freeway in the middle of the night. So I just kept going and watching all of the gauges to make sure that nothing crazy was going on. We got a couple of miles up the road when the car started to say it had low coolant. It was beginning to overheat. So pulled over and happened to pull over at a place that was a body shop that our insurance company works with. We would be able to leave the car there and get the repairs done. So we pulled in early in the morning and we sat in the car for several hours waiting for the shop to open up. In the meantime, we called our son Ben in Memphis. He jumped in our car and drove the 4 hours up to pick us up. So that might seem like an unrelated story to the 23andMe test, but here's kind of where things then get a little bit crazy. So after we get to Memphis about a week or so later, actually no, it was about a month and a half later, the results of the test came in and the car was still at the shop at St. Louis, hadn't been finished yet. We open up our results and in mine, I was surprised to see that there was a half-brother that I didn't know anything about. I'd never heard of. And I began to, really start to rack my brain on how this could happen. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, so it wasn't like I would be able to reach out to him and ask him the situation. And I assumed, because of the age of this half-brother, which is about 14 years older than me, because of the age, I assumed that maybe my dad had a girlfriend in high school or something, that he had gotten pregnant and that he just never talked about. That was my assumption. Started trying to figure out more about this person, jumped on Facebook, sent a message, and tried to contact him through there. Moving forward a couple of days, having no contact there, I had traveled back to Minnesota for work for a week. This was in the winter, and so I came back up here for some meetings. And the thought had come to me, you know what, maybe you should ask Mom if she knows anything about it. And this is not a story to try and pass judgment on anyone or make anyone feel guilty. This is actually a story that for me has been a tremendous blessing in my life. So I called my mom and said, hey, I got this DNA result and it says I have a half brother. Here is his name. And my mom's response was, I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. And she then went on to explain to me kind of the story that I had my biological father was somebody different than the dad that I grew up with and that I had known all my life. And that my biological father, I learned, had also passed away back in 2019. So I wasn't going to get an opportunity to get to know him or ask him any questions. So mystery solved, right? I kind of helped me understand a little bit more of the feelings that I had had as a kid of I'm adopted, right? Because I didn't look like others in my family. I had probably some different interests than others in my family. Than any of you who know my brother Jared. I look nothing like him. He was, you know, big, tough, strong, very popular kid. And then there was me, skinny, nerdy, glasses, braces, all those things. Again, nothing wrong with that. That's just how life is. So I began doing some more research now. I got really excited about learning more about my new family, or that new side of my family. And as a part of that, and I'm pretty big into family history. I like doing family history research and learning more about my family, and was able to uncover that my father, who's my biological father, whose last name is Spitz, he lived in Idaho Falls up until the time that he passed. But his entire family, his parents and siblings, were all from where else but St. Louis, Missouri, where we had hit the deer a month or so before, and where our car was still sitting at a body shop getting repaired. So as I started learning more about my family, my grandparents and aunts and uncles and things on that side, who most all had passed away by that time, I found where the cemetery was, where many of them were laid to rest. And it just turned out that cemetery was just a few miles from the place where we stopped at the body shop to get the car repaired. So when the body shop was done with the car and we went back up there to pick it up, it was super easy for us to just get over to the cemetery and at least kind of be in a place where some of those ancestors were. I also learned that my grandfather had been the pastor of a Lutheran church for 20 plus years in that area, and that he taught sermons often in German. The Spitz family migrated to the St. Louis area from Germany years and years ago. So then I'm thinking, okay, this is awesome. Well, now I know I have family in Germany. So then Cheryl and I started doing more of our family research and learned that a good portion of our family, or my family history, comes from the lower part of the mission area that I served in Germany. That answered a lot of questions for me about why Germany and why I felt while I was in Germany 30 plus years ago, why I felt such a closeness to the German people. It was easy for me to love the German people, even though sometimes they were known to maybe be not as friendly. But I didn't find that to be the case. I love the German people and I loved the time that I had over there. But this was a huge answer for me. And why else was I called to serve in Germany? So it was also nice that I speak German, because trying to do family history in Germany is a little bit tougher. Not all of the records are easy to get to, and the cemetery system is a little bit different. You only lease a space for a certain number of years, and then they lease that space out to someone else. So you can't really go over, it's difficult to go over there and find grave sites and things like that. So fortunately, the government agencies there have done a really good job of tracking people and the migration of Germans around the country. And so we've been able to reach out and find a lot more information about our family history, and that's been a tremendous blessing to me. So I'm super grateful for the way things turned out. Now, a lot of people that I talked to after this happened and after I learned this asked me how I was doing. Um, Learning, at the age of 50, that the dad you grew up with isn't your biological father. And it was tough um, and I'm going to keep it real here. It was tough, but only for about a couple of days, because I began to see how God had blessed my life in preparing me for that situation, knowing that I was going to learn at the age of 50 that I wasn't the son of the man I thought I was the son of. And and God was involved in all of the details in my life up to that point that led me to being prepared to get that information. And I think my sorrow came from, well, I wish I would have gotten an opportunity to meet my biological father. It would have been great to know a little bit more about him. And then again, it just hit my mind that there's no guarantee that having this person in your life earlier on in life or later in life would have been a benefit to me. It could have created other issues that I don't know about, and so I just had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to trust that God knew who I was, that He understood my story, and that I didn't need to be worried about it. That He had worked out all of the details, and it took a lot of years for those details that He knew about to become clear to me. So I guess with this, what I just want to share is, for everyone, you're going to have stuff come up in your life that's difficult to deal with. You're going to have surprises that come up in life. And I'll be the first to admit that a lot of the trials or struggles that I've had in my life have been because of my own choices. Nobody else, it's not because of anybody else that I've had a lot of difficulties in my life. It's because of the own things that I've chosen to do that have caused those difficulties. And so I think it's important for me to recognize that. And I know that there are people out there who do have some horrible, horrible things that happen to them, and it's not because of the choices that they make. So this is not to say that I'm projecting anything on anyone else, but for me personally, it only took a couple of days to get over it because I could see the hand of God in my life, and I knew that He loved me and that He prepared me for that moment. And I'm excited for the time after this life when I get to sit down with the dad I grew up with, to sit down with my biological father and just talk with them. One, thank my dad that I grew up with for being a dad that taught me a lot of great things. We weren't super close, but I always looked up to him, and I knew he was a hard worker, and he taught me how to work hard. And that has been one of the biggest blessings in my life, is knowing how to work hard, because you can overcome a lot of other things with hard work. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. If you can be one of the hardest workers, you can make up for it. And so I'm grateful for that lesson from him, all while growing up. There's it's very easy for people to maybe say, why me? Why are these challenges happening to me? It's very common, I think, for people to do that and to kind of beat themselves up over, why does this always have to happen to me? And I don't want to make light of that or make fun of it, but there's a couple of things that I've done throughout my life that I've tried to use or to help me get through it. And humor is probably the biggest thing that has helped me get through difficult challenges in my life. So you've seen those motivational posters that show like a beautiful golf course and talks about perseverance or success or whatever else. Well, there's a demotivational series out there. And one of them, I think, is a picture of a ship that's sinking, and it says mistakes, if I'm remembering right. I'll put it up here on the screen when I actually find it. But the words to it that I remember is that it says, Did you ever think that the purpose of your life might be to serve as a warning to others? And so I'll just throw it out there. If the purpose of me telling the story is to kind of serve as a warning to others, that maybe others are going to be finding out here soon, and I've heard a lot of stories since I got my DNA test back. I've heard a lot of stories of people who have gotten similar results, and they either haven't had as much success figuring out their family line, or they've had really positive experiences. But if the way that the challenge hit me can help anyone else who is dealing with a challenge, well, then I think it's important for my experience to be out there so that others can learn how I dealt with it. Also, years ago, back in high school, I went to seminary classes during my high school years, and I wrote in my scriptures at one point a poem. And this poem has run through my head hundreds of thousands of times at least throughout the course of my life. And it started with a comment, which is, I never worry. For every worry under the sun, there is an answer or there is none. If there is one, hurry and find it. If there is none, never mind it. And I don't know if that's a healthy way to consider dealing with challenges, but it's a way that I've dealt with it over time, is that as I'm faced with things in my life, I'm going to quickly try and find an answer to the challenge. Is there something I can do about it right now? And if I can, I find it and I try and implement the answer. But many times there just isn't an answer. And so in my case, I try to never mind it. I've found that over time, more information comes in that's going to help me to deal with it, but it's not going to require a lot of my brain power right now. So anyway, I hope this story is something that helps. I hope it's something that people can relate to. I hope you understand that there are more people cheering for you than are cheering against you. And so if you're dealing with struggles in your life, reach out to somebody. Keep it real with the people that you're closest to. Let them know where you're at. Set a standard of being able to keep it real. And this was something one of my buddies, Jared Andrews, he and I talked about this years ago. Out on social media, all you're seeing are the best parts of people's lives. All of the good stuff. So if you were to watch Facebook, you would think, man, I'm the only person on this planet that has a problem. Everyone else's life just seems to be going so well. The reality is we all have problems. Everybody is dealing with difficult stuff and struggling. And I think everybody in the end would prefer to deal with their own struggles than maybe some of the things that others are dealing with. I could be overgeneralizing there, but we're all dealing with stuff. And so we all deserve a little bit of compassion, a little bit of grace. When somebody snaps at us or maybe gets mad at us in traffic or says something that isn't the nicest, well, they're going through some stuff. And let's keep it real and make sure that they don't get to us in a negative way, that we look for opportunities to try and help other people. So that's just a story I felt like I needed to get out there today. Again, I'm recording this well before the golf. I don't know how I want to plug it in. Maybe I'll just golf today and film it without any audio. And again, this will just be some audio playing over the golf game. I'm still not sure. But I woke up at 2 a.m. with the thought that I should probably share a little bit about my story. And I want you to know that there is a God who's involved in the details of your life. And while it may seem like or feel like you just don't understand why things are going the way that they are going, try and find something good that's happening within the bad. Try and find the blessings, because they're there. And it could be that the reason why we are asked to go through challenges is so that we can be a support to others later on who are going through similar challenges or maybe even dissimilar challenges, but they're going through a challenge, and you, having been on that same level of challenge, are going to be able to make a difference for them. I'd also encourage everyone to keep it real on your social media. Not that you need to do a troubles dump out there where everybody has to know all of the bad stuff that's going on in your life. Some things can just be kept to yourself. But keep it real. There are people out there that can learn from the struggles that you're going through. If you're dealing with struggles with mental health, keep it real. It wasn't until, I think it was about 4 years ago, when I finally decided to talk to my doctor about my own mental health. There were challenges and struggles I was dealing with here in between my own 2 ears that made life difficult. And through the help of a doctor, got on some medication that I was on for, again, 3 or 4 years. And this year, I was able to come off of the medication. I felt like I'd learned other ways to cope with the stuff that either happened in my past or happened in my present, or things that I was worried about for the future. Just come up with some ways to cope with that stuff. And a big part of it is knowing that there is a group of people around me that I know loves me and wants to see me happy and healthy and succeeding. And so know that there are people out there who want to see you happy, healthy, and succeeding. So with that, thanks for watching Golf Chat today. Hope this isn't a bummer. Hopefully the golf ends up being better than the commentary here. But I appreciate you watching. Thank you. Please share this video with someone that you know that may be dealing with something tough, and help them to try and find the silver lining in the struggles that they're going through. Pray for them. Think about them. Send them a nice note. Just let them know that you remember them and that you care. It goes a long way. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.